Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
All right, I call to order the December 17th, 2020 Board of Commissioners regular session. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Commissioner Rochelle Hatcher,
Present.
Commissioner Jake Smith,
Present.
Commissioner Steve Frisbee,
Present.
Commissioner Derek King,
Present.
Commissioner Tommy Miller,
Present.
Commissioner Gary Tompkins,
Present.
Commissioner Kathy Sue Petty.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. Tonight, in our moment of silence, we're going to want you to remember the family of Tom Hughes, who is approximately a 15-year employee of the road department who passed away yesterday or today. Keep their family in your thoughts and prayers.
Yes, amen.
Son of a bitch. Congratulations. You both passed your equal. Stay safe out there. You.
Commissioner Miller, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yep. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
We have a motion to approve the December 17th, 2020 Board of Commissioners regular session as presented.
So moved.
Support Hatcher.
Miller and Hatcher, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Commissioners December 3rd, 2020 regular session as presented?
So move Tompkins.
Support Betty.
Tompkins and Betty, any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. The next item in the agenda is citizens' time. During citizens' time, the board chair shall recognize any person wishing to address the board. A person recognized by the chair shall call in and state his or her name and community of residence. A person may address the board only once on the same matter during each period set aside for citizens' time on the agenda and only on matters that are relevant to county government. The chair shall control the length of each person being allowed to speak at 3 minutes and shall not allow negative personal comments. Please mute your TV or computer when calling in, as the background sound will generate feedback. Please note there's an approximately 30-second delay between the live meeting and the YouTube feed. Would anyone like to address their commissioners? Quite a few folks in the participant list, attendees list. Anyone that would like to address their commissioners? Is there anyone that would like to address their commissioners? Is there anyone in the queue?
No, sir.
All right, we'll wait just a second. All right, we'll move along to elected and appointed county official comments. Is there anyone who'd like to comment tonight? There's a hand up. Who is it? Prosecutor Dave Gilbert. You're on, Dave. Except for I think you're muted.
Just wanted to say happy holidays, everybody, and please stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Clerk Kimberly Hinckley.
Thank you, Chair. I just, again, as well, would like to wish everyone on the board a Merry Christmas and a blessed 2020, and hope everyone enjoys some restful holiday time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer Brian Wensauer. Or the treasurer's staff. Not sure who's on that one. The attendees list, the treasurer's staff. You can promote them to panelist.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I sure can.
Okay. I had a hard time trying to find where the button was. First off, I'd just like to say that the Supreme Court had ruled against us, and as most of you know, on the Raffaelli versus Oakland County. I have worked over about a year now on legislation that went before the Senate. It was passed 37-0. Today, it was to go before the House. I had to jump off for the Board of Commissioner or board meeting for the land bank. I didn't get a chance to hear the actual vote for it, but I believe that it was passed by the House. We needed this to be voted on by the House and the Senate so that we could get our notices out for next year, because part of the new legislation had some changes in notifying those property owners that may become delinquent. So I don't know the actual answer to it, but I'm hoping that it was passed. And I just wanted to also say the same thing. Merry Christmas and a happy holidays, and hope everybody has a safe and prosperous new year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you, anybody else? Elected or appointed county officials. All right. Special order of business, we have Julie Piak from MSU Extension, who's going to give us an update on MSU Extension. Julie?
Thank you, Chair Frisbee. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Let's see. I can't turn my camera on. So, good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Calhoun County MSU Extension 2020 Annual Report that you received in your packets. It was a pleasure to put this report together because despite all that we have all been through this year, MSU Extension continued to work hard and make an impact with Calhoun County residents. As you saw on the last page of the report, there were 58 educators who reported Calhoun participants in their programs and 235 programs attended by Calhoun residents from January through September. Thank you for your continued investment in MSU Extension. With your support, we can continue to leverage other local, state, and university resources to help improve the quality of lives of the residents in Calhoun County. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them. And if not, I hope you all will enjoy the season.
Any questions for Julie? All right, thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Next, we have a special order of business and a resolution supporting Calhoun County businesses, which I will read into the record. Whereas COVID-19 restrictions on certain businesses have caused severe financial distress and other hardships to businesses, their employees, and our local economy. And whereas specifically the orders set forth by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services have required temporary closures of certain key businesses, including entertainment, sporting, and recreation venues and indoor dining at food service establishments. And whereas a reasonable expectation of local communities is the state of Michigan should make financially whole business owners directly affected by these restrictive orders in order to stabilize the economy, save jobs, and prevent reverse adverse results including bankruptcy and foreclosures. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Calhoun County Board of Commissioners request the state of Michigan through its legislatures and administrative agencies to allow the expiration of COVID-19 restrictions on safe operations of businesses as soon as possible, and to appropriate sufficient stimulus dollars to support affected businesses and individuals in their efforts to get back to full operations. And that the Board of Commissioners also encourages Congress and the President to pass legislation in support of business owners. Signed, Steve Frisbee, Calhoun County Board of Commissioners. They have a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Support.
King and Miller, any discussion?
Yes, Chair. I would like to ask, the language does mention businesses and foreclosures and bankruptcies. I'd also like to know, what about just private individuals, their owners? I don't know if Brian is still on the call, but as far as we have business owners that are struggling, but we also have employees, workers, and that are struggling and also in danger of losing their home. So I just want to know if, why there isn't verbiage in this resolution for that.
Well, what we thought the thought process actually was that if they had their jobs were available, they probably wouldn't be struggling individuals. And that's a lot of who is struggling are folks that their jobs are closed down.
Are we referring to restaurant employees, or you're saying all businesses?
Any business that's been closed by order.
Business that's been closed by that particular order.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Betty,
She's struggling to get back in. Said the passcode's not working for her either.
I'm going to come back to
I'll go. I vote yes.
Commissioner Miller. Yes.
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 Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
No.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
He already voted yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you voted.
and Commissioner Betty.
She's still not in. She's trying to get back in.
Okay.
Wait a minute. She's still not able to get back in. All right.
Chair, can we motion to just table it so till we get, I mean, I'm just saying till we get back to her? I mean, so that we don't.
It's already
miss her.
passed.
Yeah, we can,
Okay.
we can
Oh,
have
okay.
a recorder vote when she comes back in. It's past
Okay.
5 to 1, so we'll move on.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, next is our consent agenda. We have 5 items on the consent agenda. Move anything that you want and vote on separately. Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved, Tompkins.
Support.
Tompkins and Miller, any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
I'm not sure if Commissioner Vetti is back on.
She is.
Commissioner Vetti,
We'll come back to her. Does the motion carry?
so far we have 6 yes.
Yes, sorry,
Commissioner Vetti, yes.
All right.
I'm struggling. Sorry, you guys.
That's okay.
All right, we'll move on. Motion carried 7-0. Special committee workshop and board reports. Anybody have? any reports?
If I may, Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of committees that were involved in this month prior to our meeting. The Senior Millage Committee met on December 4th. Our Senior Services Manager, Helen Guzzo, was on hand, obviously, to provide an update on the status of where we are budget-wise and provided a bit of an insight into what programs have been affected by COVID-19. We also had a discussion involving reducing social isolation among older adults. And from that discussion, a Reducing Social Isolation Committee was created, a subcommittee. As we know, during this COVID era, social isolation has been even greater among seniors and their ability to be able to get out and have any opportunity to socialize. So it's really becoming increasingly a greater problem. Our first subcommittee meeting was this afternoon with the goal to present recommendations on how to address social isolation to the full committee by March of 2021. So as that progresses, there'll be updates certainly that I'll be able to share. Addition to that, the County Planning Commission also met on December 14th, where we recommended approval for PA 116 applications for Clarence, Newton, and Penfield Township residents that had applied. We also recommended approval to Lee Township's zoning ordinance amendment regarding marijuana regulations. We also recommended for approval with some certain suggestions on some Newton Township zoning ordinance amendment. And then finally, we held a discussion concerning odor issues regarding marijuana grow facilities and what, if any, ordinances are addressing that. And we took Lee Townships as one example. There are provisions in there for odor, but it's certainly a question that's been posed to several of the Planning Commission members, and that's why it was brought up and we discussed it, just to make sure that these townships are aware that as they're creating these ordinances, that there is some odor regulations, if you will, to the best of their ability on that. So that's just my committee reports this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Steve?
Go ahead, Commissioner Miller.
Yesterday, the solid waste committee met. Went over a couple of things, not a whole lot, but our recycle center is still shut down due to COVID to keep everybody safe. Hoping to get it opened up pretty soon because I think a lot of people holding off and stocking their garages up full of recyclables. Eric Schaefer resigned. He retired from, I believe, Waste Management, and we reappointed Art Kale back on the board for the next term. Then today we had the Marshall DDA meeting and talked about Mike Beck and Eric Zouza did a presentation on a 3-year temporary structure for a marijuana facility. Pretty big thing, just going for 3 years to have a temporary structure put up. But then they're talking about electric system expansion. And for all this stuff going on in Marshall for their industrial park, they're actually going to invest over $8.3 million into upgrading everything to be able to supply enough electricity for all their needs. So that's pretty interesting that they're going to do a 17-acre lot just south of Sand Hill on Old 27. They're going to put a big structure up there for electric. That's it.
Thank you. Kelly, I know we have a couple people in the public struggling to get in. Joel Fulton saying he can't get in off the link on the website. Can you send me the Zoom link and I'll send it to him? If you can text me that real quick, and I'll keep moving along. And we'll get him into the meeting. The 911 board met 2 weeks ago, or last week, and what we accepted was the resignation of Jeff Albaugh, who's been on the 911 board for a long time, and he has decided that he's going to step down. The Township Association is who appoints his position, and they elected to appoint Ryan Harvey from Combus Township. So that'll be, we'll elect a new chair moving forward in January. And so we appreciate all of Jeff's efforts in the past. He's been there a long time. So anybody else?
Steve, we don't appoint that board?
Yeah, we appoint the commissioner to it. Others are statutorily and through their bylaws. So the commissioner appointment is the only one that we appoint. Everybody else is named through a bylaw process, like the Township Association, the City of Battle Creek, the sheriff, you name it. There's a whole bunch of appointed positions in there, but they take care of themselves. All right, move on. Don't think we have any unfinished business, so we're going to move on to, I'll turn it over to County Administrator Controller, Kelly Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just sent you a text with the Zoom link information, and then Lucy posted something on chat as well for anybody that's having trouble. But we've both double checked it, and the information seems to be accurate. So hopefully we copy and paste again, whoever's having trouble getting it in. I just have one committee report to add to what's already been reported. Today, the Michigan Municipal Services Authority, MMSA Executive Committee met. This is the statewide authority that I was appointed to by our former governor, and I continue to chair that until Governor Whitmer and her staff can do some new appointments, at which time I'm hoping to hand off the chair position to someone else. In the meantime, we have an interim, Shay Charles, who has taken another position. And so we are once again in the position of talking about how to transition and find a new CEO. It's a great organization. Right now we are contracting with an individual who is providing financial and management services to the city of Flint in partnership with the State Department of Treasury. That's grant funded by the state. So we're hoping to expand that program, and we're continuing to manage the Local Community Stabilization Authority, LCSA contracts, which we disperse millions of dollars a couple times a year to local governments to reimburse for personal property tax reimbursement. So great organization. We'll be looking for a new CEO soon. And then I just wanted to report on county operations. We are really continuing to operate like we have been since way back at the 1st of July when we started our reopening plans. We've been saying we're in the same phase 4. We are fully operational, serving the public. The courts are fully operational, serving the public, other than jury trials are still suspended. Most of our employees at this point are working remotely. All of the buildings are open to the public except for the Justice Center. A lot of the offices are still requiring appointments. And of course, we have all the COVID safety protocol in place, and it's going fairly well. We're still experiencing some instances of county employees that are affected by COVID, although within the last couple of weeks, that number has slowed down. So that's good news. And we're working at this point on making sure that our policies are in place to fully encourage our employees to get the COVID vaccine when they're allowed to, and not be penalized if they have to take any time off, et cetera. And we're working on training and other resources to support our supervisors and our employees who are working remotely. So the only change that you'll see before we meet next time in January is that for the week between Christmas and New Year's, so December 28, 29, 30, and then New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, the county building will be locked to the public just due to limited staffing, as I mentioned at the last board meeting, and to encourage our employees to take some time off and spend time with their families for those few days. We are working on as you approved of the consent agenda, the organizational session for the board, which is January 7, and the first week of January, so it would be a normal Board of Commissioners meeting. Jim Dyer will be sending out an email with advice on how to make sure that all of the commissioners are able to take your oath of office before taking the next term of office starting January 1st. And then we are planning to have Chief Judge Mike Jackinet do kind of a ceremonial swearing in at the meeting on January 7. And then we'll be conducting the election of the board chair and vice chair. And based on information that we've received from the Michigan Association of Counties and legal advice, we think that we're perfectly in compliance to do that, even though we're in a virtual setting. So that's the next time we'll be together. And so I do want to wish all of the commissioners a safe and happy holiday season. And that would conclude my report. We can move on to new business unless there are questions. All right, so not seeing any. We do have a lengthy new business list this evening. We have 11 items. I think a lot of them are fairly simple and straightforward, so I'll try to keep us moving along. The first item is 12B1, and that is the approval of the MSU Extension 2021 work plan. Thank you to Julie Piak for being here tonight and for providing you with the annual report. We continue to value that partnership. I know several counties, because of budget constraints, have had to greatly limit or even eliminate the MSU extension from the list of what they appropriate. We have not done that, and we're recommending a renewal of the current work plan, which is basically the university provides educators and the 4-H coordinator. The county provides clerical staff and the office space. This is overseen by our community development director, Jen Bamba. And then, of course, Brad Wilcox oversees the community development office as well. So thank you to their leadership. Thank you to Julie Piak. And we look forward to a continued relationship with the same exact county appropriation for this work plan, which is just under $84,000.
Can I have a motion to approve the MSU Extension 2021 work plan as presented?
So moved, Smith.
Support Hatcher.
Okay.
Smith and Hatcher. Is there any
Okay.
discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Thank you.
Motion
Item
carried.
12B2 is the senior millage programs contracts for the next 3 years, 2021 through 2023. There are contracts that are being recommended to 5 providers. Of course, this has gone through a lengthy competitive request for proposal process through county purchasing, through the senior millage allocation committee. They're fully supportive of this, and our senior services manager, Helen Guzzo, is here tonight to answer questions. These contracts total about $2.4 million over the 3 years. And I think as previously reported, the only change in all of these is the RAMPS program, which previously was Habitat for Humanity, now is being recommended to be managed by Senior Services, Inc. And with that, sure, Helen would be, or Gary would be happy to answer any questions. County administration strongly recommends these contracts.
I have a motion to approve the senior millage funded programs from the 2020 RFP 118-20 as presented.
So moved, Tompkins.
Support Miller.
Tompkins and Miller, is there any discussion?
If I may, Chair, just real quickly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to certainly, Helen, who's on, I believe, on the line as well this evening, just want to a shout out certainly to her and all of the folks that were involved in the process, including Brad and whatnot. It was a pretty extensive process, and each of these funded programs are fully vetted based on those people that have been recommended. So just again, certainly great job to everybody involved and doing what needs to be done for the on behalf of our seniors. So thank you.
Is there any other comments? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vetty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes, please.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. I think we had some extra votes from the King.
Item 12B3 is our annual grant application for the survey and remonumentation program. Again, managed through community development by Brent Thalen and Jen Bamba. I believe they are both on the line tonight as well. So as you'll see in the background information for the next year, the plan is to add 55 section quarters to the more than 3,000 that have already been done to date. This is a multi-year, many year long program that continues through grant funding and through a contribution of approximately 15 to 25,000 per year that comes from a portion of deed recording fees through our Register of Deeds office. It's about an $88,000 annual budget, and we recommend approval. It's basically status quo program again for next year.
Can I have a motion to approve the 2021 application for survey and remonumentation grant as presented?
So moved Miller.
Support Smith.
Miller and Smith, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vetty,
She's there.
Yes, sorry.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Item 12B4 is our annual end of year final budget adjustments that exceed $20,000 in accordance with policy 275. These were facilitated and prepared by Megan Banny, our deputy controller, who's also here tonight. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at the line item detail. So this would incorporate any changes to our expected year-end performance that are different from our mid-year budget amendment, which I believe happened in August. So we do one final look at budget to actual, and it's mainly because when we produce our audited financial statements, there's budget to actual reports in there. And any variances require explanations. And so it's just better for us to, look at revenues and expenditures and true things up, if you will. The good news for this is that the bottom line, if you look at the general fund, it's a very small change in total revenue and expenditures. And for all of the funds, including the special revenue funds that are presented, there's not expected to be any additional use of our fund balance from the general fund. So we are either reducing both revenues and expenditures in a coordinated way, or in some cases there are increased revenues and increased expenditures that pretty much match. So a lot of detail. Bottom line is we're expecting to end this calendar year in December, pretty much in line with budget, and that is really only because of the CARES Act funding that we got to reimburse for our direct COVID expenses, but also a big portion of our public safety expenses that the state deemed could be considered COVID response. So the individuals that worked in the jail and in law enforcement for a couple of months, we were able to get their salaries reimbursed. So we had significant revenue losses for the year, and we incorporated most of those into the mid-year budget adjustments. But I think it's on track with what we've been reporting, but this is kind of a required budget amendment that we are not allowed to do after December. So we bring this to you every year just to make sure things are as accurate as can be for the readers of our financial statements.
Okay. I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 2020 final budget amendments for the general fund and certain special revenue funds as presented.
So moved, Tompkins.
Support Betty.
Tompkins and Betty, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
that's 7 yes.
Motion carries.
Item 12B5 is a requested award for pre-qualified contractors within a request for qualifications for pothole patching for the 2021 season for our road department. I'll give the high level, and then I'm going to hand off to our Assistant Administrator, Brad Wilcox. And then, of course, our legal counsel, Jim Dyer, also worked a lot on the contracts that are being recommended for 5 vendors out of 6 who responded. 4 out of the 5 all submitted the same hourly rate that we've had in the past and same as each other, which was $100 per hour. And the 5 are All Weather Construction, Diamond Cut Lawn and Snow, Gutters Are Us, Gardner Brothers Lawn and Landscape, Next Generation Landscaping. And so again, a lot of work has gone into this. We've had several questions from commissioners, and we've tried to respond to those over the past few days. Hopefully you've gotten a lot of those questions answered. In total, it's about $1 million expected spend, and that's definitely subject to change depending on available road department budget. Our theory is that we need pretty much when it's pothole season, we need all hands on deck. We need all of our available road workers, in addition to the other work that the road department is doing over the summer, as well as these contractors. It's worked fairly well with the approach to take it township by township and sort of a blanket approach and attack the potholes throughout the season, and then have our road workers continue always to respond to emergency pothole complaints. The contract also includes, this is very important, monitoring, performance requirements, quality of service provisions, and any deficiencies that our contractors have that are identified, they must correct those at no cost to the county. So that's the high level. And with that, I'll hand off to Brad and Jim, or at least have them on standby for any questions.
Ms. Kelly, I think I'd just like to add one major change for this year. This is our fourth cycle of doing this work. It's always been in joint collaboration with Jackson County Department of Transportation. Jackson's not in this year. They're still trying to solidify the funding for this program, so they are participating in the bid. But everything else is pretty much the same. I think one area of concern that we're trying to address is that over the time, we've really evolved this program and tried to increase the accountabilities, which in turn increase productivity and the quality of the work that we get from contractors. So the improvements we're going to work on in the off season prior to 2021 would be better documentation so that we need to take action. We have that behind us so that we can, when required, take disciplinary action or punitive action against the contractor. Right now, we're doing the real work. We're doing the, we're going out with our contract monitors and we're looking at the quality of work. We're verifying completion. We're doing a really good job collecting data on the tonnage being used and doing a lot of analytics as far as, down to the township level, per mile, and especially by vendor, by crew member. So we have a lot of information related to the tonnage and the materials we're putting down and the costs associated with that. But that really doesn't translate into the quality on the road that we're really looking for this year. So in order to do that, we're going to have to come up with a new metric. We think everything's in place for the new contract monitor program that'll be in its third year. So we just need to build on that and build in a quality component where we can go out and do that kind of analysis. We get the question a lot, how does this compare to the road department workers, just in terms of cost? Keeping in mind it's a different program, and Kelly mentioned that our road workers are really doing important emergency pothole repairs from call-ins. And really this frees them up to do all the other road work that they need to do. But the chargeback for the road department for 2 men in a truck, which is essentially modeling our contract, is $110. So if you're curious, it's 10 hours a day, 70 days per season work. It's about $119,000 difference, less expensive to have contractors do it. That's provided we get them at $100, and the bill back for the county road workers is $110 an hour. So it is less expensive on that measure. We just need to make sure we're getting our money out of it. So I'll entertain any questions that you might have, and Jim can weigh in.
I got a question.
Well, let's get a motion on the floor, okay? That sounds good. Can I have a motion to approve the RFQ number 124-20 pothole patching contractors as submitted?
So moved.
Support,
Motion.
Vetty.
King and Vetty. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Miller.
Yeah, well, so we say it's $110, $10 more expensive for our workers to do it. Do we factor in that we already have the equipment, that we're already paying the benefits for these employees? And do we factor in that we have 5 employees out of our workforce babysitting these contractors? It's unrealistic. I mean, as much $1 million, you could add 6 more employees to the workforce, take them 5 employees, put them back in the workforce. We could do the work in-house so much cheaper, more efficient. It's crazy to approve something like this. Crazy. How much overtime, how many days did we have our employees sitting at home with equipment sitting there, not being used, and these contractors out working? What is that? That's a slap in the face of our employees. I will not support this, and I hope the rest of you will go along with it.
Chair, thank you, Tommy. My question was actually also just about our road department is union. So is this work or work hours that would be available to our union employees that are currently with the county? And I say that again, just because, as we all know, with COVID, we have so many people in our county that are struggling. As I said, business owners and homeowners. is this an opportunity to help our own employees that may be struggling by giving them the work and it could still get done?
Kelly, you want to answer that?
Yes, the addition of these contractors does not reduce the workforce for the road department. It does not reduce the overtime opportunities. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it really takes all of our people that are available. We can't just have all of our 40-some road workers patching potholes, or we wouldn't get other maintenance done like tree work, mowing, all the other things that need to get done. We have to staff the road department, year round. I think John Midgley, who's our managing director, he's here also, has done a good job managing that staffing with the resources that we have. And so this is a combination that has worked very well for us. There is no way with county road staff, no matter how much overtime we put into it, that we could get through the potholes that we see every year. I remember when we had something like 3,000 pothole requests outstanding at one point. This measured approach of having the contractors go township by township does not reduce the work that our current workers have. This is not putting anybody out of the job. This is not laying anybody off. Is not reducing the overtime opportunities that our road workers have.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Hatcher?
Yes.
I got one more thing.
I was just, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, that's okay, Tommy. I'm sorry, you guys. I apologize. Yes, Chair. Yes, that answered my question.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller?
So you're telling me that how many Fridays last summer did our road department employees not get an opportunity to work overtime when you had these contractors working? You tell me that didn't happen last summer?
There were certain, John can answer this better, but there were certain days when there was not overtime. Either there weren't enough signed up to work because we make it optional, or there were weather issues or whatever. So it's not fair to compare when the contractors are working versus when our people are working. What I'm saying is all of our road workers have a full schedule and opportunities whenever possible, whenever it makes sense to work overtime. It's not the same as our contractors are given a certain sort of schedule to get through a township, and they choose what hours they work. They choose what they pay them, whether they pay them overtime or not. We're paying $100 flat fee to the contractors. So it doesn't matter when they work versus when our guys and gals work. It's really, we're not diminishing the amount of opportunity for our workers to patch potholes. John, would you add anything to that?
Well, the one thing, Commissioner Miller is somewhat correct. We had to, because of COVID and the fact that we took a $1.6 million hit in this budget year, when everybody was shut down and nobody was driving, we did have to limit the opportunities for overtime on Fridays this year. Previous years, when things were more normal, we offered Friday overtime, even with the contractors patching. But this year, because of that, we did not offer a lot of overtime on the Fridays this year. Because quite honestly, the budget with that $1.6 million hit it wouldn't tolerate it.
John, do you expect us to be able to offer overtime this year?
I hope so. It kind of depends how winter goes. If it keeps going like we've had so far, it's looking favorable. But somehow I have a feeling we may pay for this weather. So.
Yeah,
we always take a look, as you know, once we get through the winter, what we might be able to do budget adjustment wise is moving things into paving and more chip seal and all that type of work.
I'd like to say something too, Steve.
Go ahead.
Quite frankly, I'm tired of even talking about this. Our guys don't really want to do the work. If you look at the output that they're doing, the contractors are doing more output. You got to take into effect the equipment. It's a no-brainer. This is a no-brainer. And Tommy Miller and his cronies have been fighting it all along, and I'm tired of it. That's why I'm supporting it, and I hope everyone else does too.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I could, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to state want to thank Brad certainly for answering some of the questions that I had. I'm certainly glad to see that there'll be a metric in place going forward to obviously measure the level of quality, certainly that the folks are doing, because interesting enough, I looked at the analytics that was provided regarding the tonnage, and that's excellent data. I mean, I love that data. However, as you know, the amount of tonnage that's put into by a particular crew doesn't necessarily entertain quality per se, and I think we all recognize that. And going through this whole process, obviously looking at all the angles and whatnot, and one of the things that as we go through this and we're making this decision, the only thing I would say is that if this were to be turned down, I don't know what the action plan is on the backside in terms of how this gets done. So if I could, Mr. Chair, I would like to entertain a motion to postpone this motion until January 7th, to which time that the data as a comparative to the road worker versus the contractors, just so we have a full evaluation of that, and it gives everybody a better sense of what we're saving. Because again, my sense is that I don't want to see this motion go down because I don't believe there's an action on the backside to be able to, if this were to pass. So again, I'm going to offer that motion, Mr. Chair, if I could. So with that being said, thank you.
All right, we'll end all debate, all other discussion, and act on your motion to table this. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, all I'm asking for is a motion to postpone until the January 7th meeting, so that that analysis between contractor and road worker can be evaluated, or at least put in detail, and that way everybody has a better sense of it. And again, like I said, I don't see, if this gets turned down, then what is the action on the backside in order to complete this work? And I don't see it. So yes, sir.
Is there a second for that motion?
Support, Smith.
We have a motion from Tompkins to table, support from Smith. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Hatcher,
No.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
No.
Commissioner King,
No way.
Commissioner Miller,
No.
Commissioner Tompkins,
That'll be a yes.
Commissioner Vetty,
Yes. No, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I got really confused on which thing we're doing. This one's a no. I'm so sorry, you guys.
Thank you.
no. That's great. 3 yes and 5 no.
Can you repeat that?
It is 2 yes for postponing and
Motion to table fails.
5 no to table.
Okay. We'll go back to the original question. Is there any other discussion?
Call the question, please.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Hatcher,
No.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
No.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
No.
Commissioner Tompkins,
I'm sorry, I can't elaborate, so I apologize for that. I'm going to say yes on this.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
4 yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, may I just elaborate just for a moment, sir?
On your vote?
No, I just would like to elaborate if possible, just for a moment. Yes on the vote, please, if I may.
Okay. Go ahead.
I just want to make it very clear. The fact that we don't have a plan on the backside. I just, I find this to be that we have no choice but to move forward. But I will say I'm encouraged the fact that Mr. Wilcox has indicated that there will be a metric system going forward, and I look forward to being able to see that here with that. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on.
Okay, item 12B6 is the request that you ratify or approve an agreement with the Red Roof Inn for non-congregate sheltering related to COVID-19 isolation and quarantine. This is being brought forward basically under our emergency provision of the procurement policy with recommendation from our health department and their working group through the Joint Operations Center. Brad Wilcox has led this effort, and Jim Dyer has drafted the agreement. It's basically a grant-covered agreement to secure the entire facility of the Red Roof Inn on Beckley Road in Battle Creek on an emergency basis as needed from now all the way through mid-March. And the county received a dedicated grant. It did come from federal COVID CARES Act funding that's specifically restricted to quarantine and isolation purposes. And so the bulk of that will be spent to compensate the hotel for that. And then we'll also be making sure that the wraparound services like meals and security are provided, as we did with the Hampton Inn earlier this year. We are also proposing that we share the facility with Kalamazoo County and potentially some other counties. If so, those other counties would reimburse us for any out-of-pocket costs over and above the grant. And Kalamazoo County specifically has offered to pay 50% of those costs. So we're asking you to ratify the action. A lot of work has gone into negotiating the best rate we could get. It will help, obviously, the local economy through the hotel increasing their occupancy and basically allowing them to get compensated for rooms that maybe otherwise not be occupied by the general public. And it will definitely be a needed backup plan in the case of homeless or others who need to be isolated or quarantined due to the increased COVID case surge right now.
Could I have a motion to approve the Red Roof Inn non-congregate sheltering facility agreement as presented?
So moved, Hatcher.
Support.
Support
Smith.
Betty.
Hatcher and Betty, is there any discussion? I just have one question. I think I know the answer to this. The last time we ran a shelter, the intention was for an isolation, and it turned into a full-blown shelter with healthcare and everything else, and it became very costly. And that was kind of as a result of another county. Do we have things in place that will prevent them from doing that this time?
I think that was a pretty limited situation where we had a couple of individuals that maybe needed more medical care than originally planned.
Right.
I think through conversations with the hospitals and through through our health departments, we're not expecting that situation to happen again. So we're not planning on needing, the level of EMS support that we had at the end with the last scenario.
Okay. Yep. And it wasn't our fault. It was really something another county kind of took us down the road. So I'm glad to hear that we'll have those discussions. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Sorry, your thing is messed up. Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the next two items, 12B7 and 8, I will describe together, and then of course we'll ask you to vote on them separately, but they are requests that you ratify collective bargaining agreements for 2 of our unions whose contract expires at the end of December. So TPOAM Health is about 34 employees in the health department. That's item 12B7. 12B8 is the TPOAM countywide union that has 78 employees. Kim Archambault, our HR director, is on the line. She, of course, has led our collective bargaining and labor relations efforts for many years, does a wonderful job, and has saved the county a lot of money without us needing to involve outside labor council like a lot of other local governments do. I think we have pretty good relationships with our represented employee groups. And this year we did all of the bargaining remotely, and it worked fairly well. I think the unions understand the fiscal constraints, and yet we still are wanting to make sure that we're continuing to keep our wages in line with market-based levels and inflationary rates. So we're recommending for both of the groups, really not really any operational changes in language, a couple of minor changes that Kim sent out earlier this week in a separate email. She actually sent the red line agreements that show you all of the changes, some small changes to things like accumulated time, lunch hour flexibility, but really the economics include 3-year contracts for both groups. For the first year, 2% pay increase, which was already built into the budget that you approved. For the next 2 year, each of the 2 years, 2.5% pay increases. And both of these union groups ratified their agreements last Friday, December 11, and we ask that you do the same. The cost of these, again, have the health department, for the most part, has a separate budget from the general fund. That cost is about $125,000 over the next 3 years for those increases. And then the countywide TPOAM, about $275,000 for the increases. And those are definitely manageable and comparable to what we've already agreed to with other employee groups going forward.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the TPOAM Health Collective Bargaining Agreement 1/1/21 to 12/31/23 as presented?
So moved, Betty.
Support, Smith.
Betty and Smith, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
All right.
12B9 are the monthly financial statements that we present this time every month. This one is through November.
Kelly,
Yes, sir.
I think we still have to vote on 12.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yep. Can I have a motion to approve? Oh, let me see. Back up here. Motion to approve the TPOAM Collective Bargaining Agreement 1/121 through 12/31/23 as presented.
So moved.
Smith.
Support,
King.
Hatcher. Okay.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
that's 7 yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, now the November financial statements. Hopefully you've had a chance to read the cover memo. These, of course, prepared by our Deputy Controller, Megan Banning. We have 1 month left in the fiscal year, and really these are in line with what we've reflected in the year-end budget adjustments. We're expecting the general fund to be okay due to savings from salaries, fringes, building costs, and supplies due to the reduction in operations from COVID, and of course, the reimbursement that we got from state and federal grants. So really, that's the bottom line, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Can I have a motion to approve the November 2020 financial statements as presented?
So
So
moved,
moved.
Tompkins.
Tompkins and Hatcher. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
that's 7 yes.
Motion carries.
All right, item 12B10 comes from our Corporation Counsel, Jim Dyer, on behalf of the Land Bank Authority and our treasurer. This is similar to actions the board has taken a few times over the years, and we're requesting an amendment to funding allocation to the Land Bank Authority from funds that the treasurer manages. So this recommendation does two things. It allows for changes within what was already authorized last December in 2019, which was $500,000 for about 28 projects. Authorizes changes to reallocate in between all of those projects within the given categories to demolish, stabilize, and rehab commercial and residential properties across the county. And then it also requests that the allocation be increased by $130,000 to account for lost revenues that the land bank has experienced this year, mainly due to reduced operations given COVID. And so I think we have Krista Trout-Edwards, Brian Wensauer, Jim Dyer, and then Derek is here also on behalf of the land bank. We have lots of experts. But that's the summary for this item.
Anybody else want to make comments from that group? All right. I think that's not. So can I have a motion to approve the amendment of the allocation of funds appropriated to the Land Bank Authority as presented?
So moved.
Support, Smith.
Or,
King and Smith, is there any discussion?
Looks like Krista Trout-Edwards would like to add some comments if she could.
Go ahead, Krista.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? So
We can.
kind of rejoined there. I just wanted to add on a little bit. The reallocation of the funds that were approved last year, it's just a lot of it was priorities and opportunities changed with the pandemic. Some properties we weren't able to complete in 2020 because we weren't able to do them safely within CDC guidelines, but we still have them on the docket for 2021. So it's not that we're not going to do them. There were two rehabs in the city of Albion for residential structures, and then a downtown structure that we had wanted to do some remediation on, and we just couldn't meet CDC guidelines. And ultimately, it made more sense for us to put money into multiple transform this home projects and get them back on the market faster. And we were able to sell a lot of those or get purchase agreements on them. And that's what's presented in the spreadsheet that we attached with our request. Also, we were able to do more planning around some properties. So we were able to pair our environmental grant with some of the commercial properties we own and get the environmental work done so that we can get them listed in 2021. So we just had to sort of rejig our priorities and think about what we could do safely and still move some of our properties along. And that's really what that reallocation is. And then with the funding shortage, as Kelly said, a lot of it has to do with the pandemic. We did do furloughs over the summer, and we do also have a furlough going on right now, a partial furlough. So we tried to save as much as we could, but we do manage a inventory of vacant and abandoned properties. And so there are costs associated with that. So we would request your support this evening and appreciate if you have any questions, let me know.
Any questions for Krista? Commissioner Hatcher, you get your hand up. Do you have a question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, that was before, Steve.
Okay, put your hand down so your arm doesn't get tired.
Put my hand down, yes.
All right, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the last item under new business tonight is 12B11. This is a request for your approval of the revised soil erosion and sedimentation control ordinance prepared by Jim Dyer, Corporation Counsel. Jim is obviously here to answer questions. We probably could have put this on the consent agenda. It really doesn't have a financial impact on the county. It results from some audit comments from the state. So this program is overseen by Eagle and administered by our health department as the authorized public agency. And we also received input from, as required, from our local conservation district. And basically the audit comments required some changes that Jim has described are more form versus function, some definition clarifications. And so we just want to be in compliance always with audit requirements. And you have a copy of the proposed revised ordinance as presented, which does require a Board of Commissioners approval.
Can I have a motion to approve the revised soil erosion and sedimentation control ordinance as presented?
Support Hatcher. Or so moved Hatcher, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, please, King.
Hatcher and King, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
We have 7 yes.
Motion carries. Next item is citizens' time. The same rules apply as during the first citizens' time. Please limit your time to 3 minutes and no negative personal comments. Please mute your TV or computer when calling in, as the background sound will generate feedback. Please note there's an approximately 30-second delay between the live meeting and the YouTube feed. Is there anyone who would like to address their commissioners? Joel Fulton.
I'm doing this correctly, Commissioner.
There you go.
Outstanding. So I appreciate the resolution that was presented this evening in support of businesses. I certainly would have expected that resolution to have passed unanimously rather than having any no votes. That resolution was specifically in support of businesses, which in turn certainly helps our employees and the individuals in our county. Right now, we have lots of folks struggling, especially in the restaurant industry, where they're not able to work or they are working very limited hours, and they certainly don't have access, especially our tipped employees who don't have access to the same kind of traffic and foot traffic. People picking stuff up to go, sometimes they tip, sometimes they don't. In the end, they're tipping for service, which they're really not getting when they go and just pick stuff up to go from a restaurant. There's no service involved. Now, a lot of people are tipping, and I certainly appreciate those that do, but they are tipping out of the generosity of their heart for services that are not being rendered or received. They're just simply tipping and giving. I would almost say, giving more than they are tipping. I'm very disappointed at the continual lockdown of the restaurant industry when there is no real science to prove that we are contributing in any massive way to the spread of COVID-19. As a matter of fact, many of us gathered together and spoke in a meeting on Monday, and we had Eric Pacell Zoomed and spoke with all of us and counseled us on best practices and what we can do to make sure that we open safely and operate safely so that people can enjoy dining out. Now, people are going to have to evaluate their own level of risk to do that. The problem is we keep getting these piecemeal shutdowns 3 weeks at a time, another 12 days at a time. And there was a $10 million quote unquote grant program for the statewide for businesses that have been shut down to try and support us. And in that endeavor, there are going to be a maximum grant of $15,000 per business. Divide that out, you get a maximum of 650 businesses that can be helped. To further complicate that process, they're being done by region. Calhoun is lumped in with 7 or 6 other counties, including Kalamazoo County, for a total of $800,000 available. Divided by 15,000, that means 53 grants were available for all of the restaurants, gymnasiums, theaters, and the businesses that have been mandatorily closed down in those 7 counties. It's like putting in for an elk tag and hoping you hit the lottery and to get to go on your dream elk hunt. It's just, it was ridiculous. I got on the thing at online as soon as it opened at 9 o'clock, and I was 2,892 in line to get one of these grants. These grants also said that they were available, and if you were granted this grant, there was a second round in January 11th, so this money's not even going to be available till sometime into February, and that this money could be used for any expenses from November 18th when they started this shutdown, and they said all the way until April 30th, 2021, which says to me that it is potential we could be shut down till April 30th, 2021, if they're going to cover those kind of expenses between those times. And frankly, $15,000 doesn't begin to cover the expenses that we're facing, nor does it make us whole for the kind of revenue that the restaurant, lodging, theaters, gymnasiums, for the kind of revenue that we generate in a gross domestic product situation. The government can't begin to make us whole.
I'll have to interrupt you. We've exceeded 3 minutes, so I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to address their commissioners? Melinda Weaver. Melinda? Did we get her promoted?
She said in chat she can't get her volume to work.
Okay. We'll come back. Is there anybody else?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I just, I wanted to address, Commissioner Hatcher when she was discussing, whether there's help for foreclosure with businesses and stuff. For tax foreclosure, I can speak. We are asking everybody in the county, if you know of somebody that's struggling with property taxes, whether it be a business, personal, individual homes, to have them fill out one of our applications. We are looking at all different avenues to help people because we don't want them to lose their home or their business, especially during this time of the pandemic. So we really are working to try to help people. So if you guys know of anyone, send them our way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Chair, thank you. Melinda, thank you so much. As she knows, I get so many phone calls from a lot of my constituents with concerns over, and they're probably getting notifications or things like that about their taxes being due. And most responsible homeowners, and, they don't want to lose their home. So panic sets in. And yes, Melinda has been tremendous help to me where, for me to be able to call people and let them know there is something that, you can try to do. I don't guarantee that we can do anything, but I do guarantee that as each case per case, we can look and see what's going on in the household and with the family. So I appreciate that support also too.
Anybody else would like to address their commissioners? Nobody else in the queue? We'll move on. Commissioner time.
Oh, Chair.
Yes.
Me again. Sorry. I do want to I do want to just mention earlier having a conversation with regarding the road commission and things like that. I just want to say to all my fellow commissioners to let's keep in mind that we are all here for the same purpose. And I think that there was a point in the meeting where had that been an individual from the outside, you would have called it out of order. So, we're all just trying to, I think, just work on it and get a better understanding. At least I know I am. So I appreciate all the feedback that comes when we do have to openly or even aggressively, have conversation. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, I will, if I could, please.
Go ahead.
All right, well, I'm going to change the dynamic a little bit this evening, and I'm going to want to wish my colleagues, the administration, all the county employees, and certainly the residents of Calhoun County a very happy New Year and Merry Christmas, and hope everybody gets an opportunity to enjoy their families this holiday season, even though we're in a COVID situation, even it's by Zoom. So I just want to take that opportunity to wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary.
Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to claims payable. Can I have a motion to approve the Calhoun County claims payable for November 25th, 2020 through December 10th, 2020 in the amount of $4,115,643.03 as presented?
So moved, Hatcher.
Support Tompkins.
Hatcher and Tompkins, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Petty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. Are there any announcements tonight? All right, this meeting's adjourned.
On.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yes, Merry Christmas, you guys. Steve,
Yes.
get something going on with that. Is that just a regular code that you have?